What if I told you there are 8 invisible forces secretly controlling every single trade you make? And what if mastering these forces is literally the difference between you finally pulling consistent money from the markets versus blowing up your account? Stick with me for the next couple minutes, and I'm going to show you the psychology vault that all professional traders don't share. This isn't some mystical bullshit. This is hard science about how your brain sabotages your success, and more importantly, how to flip the script. Look, I get it. You've probably watched 100 videos about support and resistance, candlestick patterns, and moving averages. But here's the brutal truth. Most traders fail not because they don't know what to buy or sell, but because they keep repeating the same self-destructive patterns over and over again. You know the drill. You have a great day, feel invincible, size up, then boom, one bad trade wipes out a week of gains. That's not bad luck. That's psychology. When you map these 8 hidden forces, you gain the ultimate edge. Control over your own mind. And honestly, that's worth more than any indicator or strategy you'll ever learn. Let's start with the big one. Why losing feels like getting punched in the gut while winning feels, well, just normal. Here's what's happening in your brain. When you take a loss, it doesn't just sting because of the money. Your primitive brain literally thinks you're under attack. It floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone, and suddenly you're in full fight or flight mode. This is why after a red day, you can't see the charts clearly anymore. You're not thinking. You're reacting. And what do most traders do? They revenge trade. They double down. They try to get even because their brain is screaming, "Danger, fix this now." But here's the kicker. Winners don't feel nearly as good as losses feel bad. It's called loss aversion, and it's hardwired into all of us. Master traders have one superpower. They can take a loss, walk away from the screen, and come back fresh the next day. That's it. That simple act of walking away saves more accounts than any strategy ever will. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. When you're tilted, you're not trading. You're gambling with your emotions. The market will be there tomorrow. Your account might not be if you keep trading angry. Which brings us to the second force. Raise your hand if you've ever searched for the perfect trading strategy that wins 90% of the time. Yeah, we've all been there. It's human nature. We crave certainty in a game that's built on uncertainty. But here's the harsh reality. That perfect system doesn't exist. New traders spend months, sometimes years, hunting for this magical strategy because the idea of losing trades terrifies them. But even if you found a strategy that won 95% of the time, you'd still mess it up because, newsflash, you're human. When we can't control the outcome, we do stupid things. We move stop losses, we overtrade, we size up on sure thing setups. We try to force certainty where none exists. Pro traders think in probabilities, not certainties. Every trade is just a roll of the dice with favorable odds. Some win, some lose. But over time, the math works out. Stop trying to control individual trades and start controlling your process. Here's something nobody talks about. Your brain is basically a habit machine. Every time you do something, you're making it more likely you'll do it again. So if you keep oversizing when you're emotional, guess what? You're training your brain that oversizing is the normal response to emotion. If you keep moving your stop losses, you're programming yourself to be a stop loss mover. The scary part? These habits feel automatic after a while. You'll catch yourself doing the exact thing you promised you'd never do again. And you'll think, how did I end up here again? But I have some good news. Habits work both ways. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just make one good decision. Walk away from one loss without revenge trading. Use proper size on one trade. That single good decision creates momentum, and momentum builds habits. The key is seeing yourself as the type of person who follows their rules. Each time you do the right thing, you're casting a vote for that identity. All right, we're halfway through, and if you're still with me, you're already ahead of 90% of traders who won't do this inner work. But buckle up. The next few forces are where things get really interesting, because we're about to dive into the stuff that literally rewires your brain. Your brain has one simple operating system. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. Sounds simple enough, right? But in trading, this wiring becomes your worst enemy. Think about it. Taking a loss is painful, so your brain wants to avoid it at all costs. But getting back to break even after a loss? That feels amazing. So what do? You revenge trade to chase that pleasure of getting even. Or here's another one. You oversize a position and it goes your way. Holy shit, that felt incredible. Your brain just learned that oversizing equals massive pleasure. But what it doesn't account for is the catastrophic pain when that oversized position goes against you. This is why you can blow up an account in one bad day after months of slow, steady progress. You need to rewire this system. Sit down right now and think about every time oversizing or breaking your rules led to disaster. Feel that pain again. Associate it with the bad behavior. Make breaking your rules more painful than following them. Remember your worst trading day. Not just the money you lost, but how it felt. The shame, the anger, the having to start over. Burn that into your memory and connect it to the behaviors that got you there. You should have this written down as well. Let's talk about the drug dealer living in your brain. Dopamine. Here's what most traders don't realize. If you wake up and immediately check social media, grab a sugary coffee, maybe watch some YouTube, then sit down to trade, your brain is already jacked up on dopamine and craving more. Now you're at the charts, and your baseline dopamine is through the roof. Your brain doesn't want boring, proper-sized trades. It wants the rush. It wants to feel that same high it just got from scrolling Instagram. This is why day trading can feel like a casino. You're not trading to make money. You're trading for the thrill. You're feeding the little gambler that lives inside all of us. And here's the brutal truth. If you're sizing your trades based on how exciting they feel, you're not trading. You're gambling. The solution? Live a lower dopamine life. Cut the instant gratification activities. Make boring trades feel normal. If your trading feels like a roller coaster, you're doing it wrong. Good trading should feel almost boring. That's how you know you're in control. This moves us to the sixth force you need to master. Humans are storytelling machines. We find patterns and meaning everywhere, even when there isn't any. You take 3 losses in a row, and suddenly your brain creates this narrative.
The market has it out for me.
Or,
I knew I wasn't cut out for this.
Or,
I'm cursed.
Or flip it. You have 3 wins, and now you're Neo from the Matrix. You can see the code. You're invincible. Time to size up because you're clearly on a hot streak. But I have a reality check for you. The market doesn't care about you. Those 3 losses, you just fell on the wrong side of probability. Those 3 wins, same thing, just the other side. The market isn't personal. It's not vindictive. It's not rooting for or against you. It just is. Strip away the story. Every trade is just a data point. Win or lose, it's just information about your system's performance over time. Stop making it about you, and start making it about the math. This might be the biggest one. There are literally 2 people living in your head. The rational you that made a trading plan and the ego that wants to sabotage it. Your rational brain says, risk 1% per trade. Follow your rules. Be consistent. But then you sit down to trade and this other voice starts up. This setup looks so good. Maybe just this once we risk 10%. The ego doesn't want what you want. It wants to be right. It wants instant gratification. It doesn't see the big picture. It just wants to feel good right now. And here's the scary part. Most people are completely identified with that voice. They think they are their thoughts. So when the ego says move that stop loss, they think that's their own brilliant idea. But it's not. It's the saboteur. You need to develop what I call the observer. That part of you that can watch your thoughts without being controlled by them. When you feel the urge to break your rules, pause. Ask yourself, is this my plan talking, or is this my ego? The gap between the urge and the action, that's where your success lives. Now, before we get to the final force, I need you to understand something. Everything we've talked about so far feeds into this last one, because once you master your ego, you can literally reprogram who you think you are as a trader. And that, my friend, changes everything. Here's the final piece of the puzzle. You become what you believe you are. If deep down you see yourself as a failed trader, guess what? You'll act like a failed trader. If you believe you're just a gambler who got lucky, you'll make gambler decisions. I see this all the time. Traders who say they want to be consistent, but their inner dialogue is all about being a failure.
I always mess up. I'm terrible at this. I'm not cut out for trading.
But identity works both ways. When you start seeing yourself as someone who follows their rules, who manages risk properly, who stays calm under pressure, your actions start aligning with that identity. Start catching those negative identity statements and flip them. Instead of, I always overtrade, try, I'm the type of trader who sticks to their plan. Instead of "I can't control my emotions," try "I stay calm and rational under pressure." At first, it'll feel fake. That's normal. But every time you act in alignment with that new identity, you're proving it to yourself. Over time, it becomes who you are. So there you have it, the 8 invisible forces that have been pulling your strings. But here's the beautiful thing. Once you see them, they lose their power over you. When you understand that losses feel worse than wins feel good, you can prepare for that emotional hit. When you know your brain craves certainty, you can accept uncertainty as part of the game. When you recognize the ego's voice, you can choose not to listen. This isn't about becoming some emotionless robot. It's about becoming the director of your own movie instead of just being dragged along by the plot. The compound effect of mastering these forces is incredible. Fewer emotional hijacks, smarter rule-driven decisions, steady growth in both your P and L, and your confidence. I'm not going to lie to you. Mastering these 8 forces isn't a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing journey. Some days you'll catch yourself falling into old patterns, and that's okay. That's human. But every time you recognize one of these forces at work and make a different choice, you're becoming a different trader. You're transforming from someone who reacts to the market to someone who responds to it. The market will always be chaotic and unpredictable, but you don't have to be. This is what separates the 10% who make it from the 90% who don't. It's not about finding the perfect strategy or the holy grail indicator. It's about understanding yourself deeply enough to get out of your own way. But if you really want to master this thing called day trading, there's one extra thing you need to do. Watch this video next and I'll break it down for you.